well, let's go to Claire, because Microsoft has definitely caught the attention with ChatGPT, and I suppose if we're looking for a visible metaphor of the power of technology and where it's taking us, here it is. Tell us a little bit more about it, and actually what the audience should know.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the audience are already interested, which is good. So, and actually, if you think about, when you went back to 1998, if I take you back a little bit further than that, think about the waves of different innovation and technology that you've seen, depending on your age group. So you'll have seen the advent and introduction of the PC, you'll have seen the introduction of the internet, you'll have seen the explosion of the mobile phone. The AI era will be the next huge explosion that will happen, and it will fundamentally change the way people work, the way society runs, and the way that businesses operate. I think the point's very well made already around how you get the right ethical framework around that is really important, and will be one of the wrestles of our time as we work that through. And I'm sure we'll get on to talking about that a little bit more. But if you think about, the people that are working on this, as far as Microsoft is concerned, the topic of AI is not like a new topic. This has been around for some time. But if I think of our researchers and engineers who have often, many of them have been involved in this for over 25 years, what they've said is that the advances that have been made in the last year are more than the last 25 years, and they are now measuring progress in months, not in years. And so I think what you'll see is the advent of innovation and change that is going to come, I think will surprise all of us. It's surprising even the engineers in terms of what the capability will be. And I think the strategy we have, we've partnered with OpenAI and some of the stuff you will have seen publicised around ChatGPT since 2019. And they are a charity, OpenAI, which I think is an important part, because actually they've also thought really carefully about what the ethics and standards for the innovation and technology will be. And obviously our investment as Microsoft into OpenAI is about how do you sort of industrialise some of that. And rather than thinking about it like a product, although we launched it with Bing so everyone can do the searches, which I'm sure many people in the audience have done. I spent hours with my children testing the models, etc. But I think what we'll do is we will infuse it into a lot of products and technologies to really think about different forms of innovation. So happy to get into some of that, but rather than it being a product in itself, it's kind of an infusion of innovation.
Well, we'll come back to it, I'm sure. But Sue, Claire talked there about the AI era. In terms of what that means, obviously you've got a lot of different tech companies who are similarly innovating in terms of thinking about how AI is going to be mainstreamed into business. And, and I think that word surprising is an interesting choice of words, right? What's an audience like this going to get surprised about? We'll move on to the sustainability, potential dividend in a moment, but just in terms of the AI era, what should we be thinking about?
Wow. Well, I think if I had £1 for every time somebody asked me about ChatGPT since January, I'd be a rich woman. I think surprising about the speed, the acceleration. I think if you think about ChatGPT, it's a large language model. They've been around for many years. There are others as well, like Lambda and DALL-E as well, that OpenAI have developed. So it's as Claire said, it's the acceleration, right? It seems, somebody said, I think it was on a session Tim and I were on, that we all seemed to wake up in January and it was here. It's been developing for some time, but it's the evolution, it's the natural evolution and development of AI technologies that have been with us for some time. But I think it's the speed and the pace of change that will surprise people going forward. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. That is just showing what these technologies can do. What people need to think about is, and again, a few years ago, probably about 2016, I had £1 for every business leader that said to me, I need an AI strategy. What should my AI strategy be? It's, I think, particularly as these technologies evolve and they become more commonplace and they become easier to, I suppose, adopt and use, it's for businesses to think about not just, oh God, what do I do about AI, but how and where can AI help me? Given what I do as a business, given my values, given my purposes, given my staff, given what I'm producing, what I'm developing, where and how can AI help me to do that more efficiently and in a more productive way?
Right. So Julie, you've got a business you're living the dream, the AI dream, right? Tell us about it.
Every day, right, Julie?
Absolutely. So we're really looking at how to harness technology, yes, but to how to help people, every one of us, prove who we are or how old we are, both face-to-face and online. So be it me buying a second-hand bike from you on a social media or a market exchange, be it me logging in to check a pension or check a financial services account. Businesses want to know, am I really that right person? And if I'm doing a peer-to-peer transaction, is this really someone I can trust at the other side? And these are questions that we've been looking at for about a decade. And it was interesting that Tony Blair and William Hague brought this up a week or so ago, because it's a challenge that the UK in particular really grapples with. Most countries around the world have different physical documents that help them in this. And the UK is really unusual. We've got 24% of adults that if they're not travelling and if they don't own a car, don't have a way to prove either who they are or how old they are. So we've done a few things. We've worked out how can people choose if they want to set up a reusable form of proving who they are. So they're not having to do it every time they go on Airbnb or every time they set up a new financial services account. And over 13 million people have chosen to do that. And we've also got a bunch of ways for people just to prove age. People mentioned about the dinner party conversations. Every young person these days is online. A third of the people on the planet online are under the age of 18. So we're looking at ways that people can prove age and then get an age-appropriate experience. A lot of us were very sobered to hear of the tragic case of Molly Russell, various TikTok asphyxiation challenges that children as young as 10 and 12 have been, fatally killed by. So looking at what is age appropriate is a new challenge, and that is one of the areas that UK technology is at the forefront of, helping people on social media platforms, gaming platforms, the likes of OnlyFans. Is this someone that is over 18? Have they given their permission? Or is this someone 10? Should that person be live streaming to a bunch of 50-year-olds? Lots of questions in there. So yes, day to day, we're harnessing technology to look at how you prove who you are safely and how you prove how old you are.
Right, Tim, I want to sort of get your view as a legislator here, because I'm sort of, listening to Julie talk there about what that technology can do, and I'm reminded of the great Spider-Man saying, with great power comes great responsibility. Right now, if you are, the FT described it as like if you're a techno-fantasist, you've got great sense of that the surprise could be wonderful. If you are a techno-fatalist, you have a great worry that the eyes are going to turn red and there's going to be a lot of problems, that actually we are creating technologies faster than our ability to work out how we can use them. How does the legislator make sure it's a force for good?
Well, this is, a real navigation problem. And if you're not careful, you get this huge traffic jam, because what we've got is the online safety bill. And I am 100% with Julie about the need for robust age verification. That's absolutely crucial. And it's exactly things like Yoti which are able to do that. But, also we've got the whole digital markets bill, which is in the offing. We've got potential reforms to data protection, just at the point when GDPR is absolutely, built into most people's business models. We've got an AI governance white paper coming down very, very shortly. All of these are meant to kind of de-risk technology in business, but it's actually getting them built in, which is really tricky. And of course, if politicians simply think that the lightest possible form of regulation is the best model, then we're going to diverge, as I said earlier. But what we've got to do is have some business certainty. So actually, harmonization internationally is the way forward, not trying to plough our own furrow.
But Claire, let's talk about the potential and opportunity for AI in business. This morning has been all about future fitness, specifically through the lens of sustainability. What's the AI play here? What should people be thinking about in terms of where technology might take us?
Maybe I should talk before, because there's a lot of other technology other than AI. So I will answer your question, but I
suppose you might bring in the edge and all the rest of it.
Exactly. I think if we think about, with all the economic stuff that Tony referenced very well earlier on, you might question whether businesses are kind of like retrenching or not doing it. I think technology plays a really important role, almost a deflationary role in a rising inflationary economy, because I think it provides ways of doing things really differently. And generally businesses are looking at it for one of three things. They're looking at it for innovation, they're looking at it for efficiency, or they're looking at it for different ways to service their customers or their employees. And so we're actually seeing, overall, we're seeing a big rise in companies just trying to get ahead of what they want to be. And on the whole, I'm sort of inspired by companies that are sort of taking what they felt and experienced during COVID and thinking about doing things really differently. There aren't people actually that are saying, right, that's all over and I can go back to doing things the old way. They recognise that the way of work is changing and different. So I think that's good. And these are, forgive me for this as a SME audience, these are some big examples, but companies like on the sustainability topic, we have a very big partnership with the Met Office. And they chose to do that. Part of it was doing things differently. But if you imagine the Met Office has had a supercomputer aging since the 1950s, where every chief exec has replaced that supercomputer. And Penny Endersby, the CEO of the Met Office, took a brave new path to say, I need to partner with a tech company to build a new big supercomputer. And the reason she did that was partly innovation, partly efficiency, partly different ways of doing things. But the main reason was that they needed to solve their own climate CO2 emission problems. And they also wanted a way, and this is where the link into AI, with data and AI, that they will provide future weather and climate and science problems for solving some of the most difficult problems.
Yeah.
Internationally and globally, and we're partnering very closely with that. So that's like a big customer example.
Right.
But if you think about, like, for all the customers that are in the room, like, what are you going to do with AI? So most of you may not realise that AI is infused into a lot of the products and services that you use already. So if you're typing in Word and you see some of that sort of autocomplete stuff go on, that's powered by AI. If you've ever created a PowerPoint slide, I'm sure some of you have, and you think, oh God, I don't know which picture to use, and you put that thing in that says it's this, and you see those auto pictures start to populate, that's all powered by AI. Some of the innovation that's coming for any ones that are Teams and Outlook customers, imagine you're in Teams and you have, I don't know, a customer relationship management system behind you, and you're talking to your client. It will serve up that information automatically to you. So while you're on the phone to them, you will know if I'm talking to someone from NatWest, and they're your client, like, this is the latest conversation, this might be some information, and it will do that autonomously for you. And it would help you, if you sent me an email, for example, and I had, 10 of those, it will do a kind of draft response for you based on the kind of content that you're asking for. And again, you're not, every human is going to augment that because the computer's not going to get that completely right. But from a time efficiency standpoint, just some of those really simple examples that I've given will be game-changing for SME.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Claire, Tim, Sue, Julia. I mean, I sort of feel like we'd almost taken on a kind of Isaac Asimov novel, that it was always going to be almost impossible to do it justice in 35 minutes. But you've done it. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Very good.